Hello, welcome back to another episode of Real Health Transformations. Today, we are going to be talking about what I believe is the single most important thing you can do for your health, no matter where you are right now, no matter what your goals might be, or what struggles you are facing. And whether you are working on losing weight, healing, managing stress, or simply just trying to feel better and have more energy day to day, this one thing is the key, and that is getting your mind right. I know this is a big statement, but I am convinced I have seen firsthand that where the mind goes, the body follows. And if we think about that, it's so huge. It's so huge. In the Bible, in Proverbs 4:23, it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And whether you're religious or not, this still applies because guarding your heart means protecting and shaping your thoughts because they influence everything else. They influence our habits, our goals, and even our resilience in the face of setbacks. And if you've been on your health journey long enough, you know there are setbacks along the way. Healing is never a linear process, or it's rarely a linear process. And so by keeping a healthy mindset, we're actively creating an environment for growth. And that is going to affect every decision that we make. You can have the best meal plan, the most optimal workout routine, and still struggle if your mindset isn't in the right place, because our mindset determines whether we stick with our goals when things get tough. And it's the filter through which we view our challenges and our own limitations. If we think about how often we set intentions, but then fall short of those, it's usually not because the goal was impossible, but because something mentally held us back. Maybe it was a fear of failure, self-doubt, not planning enough, or just not fully believing that we are actually capable of change. And those mental blocks are powerful enough to have the final say. And for me personally, I think the most impactful part of this last year of my own journey and transformation, it has been with my mindset. And yes, I've lost weight, but the mindset shift that I've had has really been the catalyst and the thing that has separated this weight loss journey from other ones that I've had in the past. And if we look at change and we look at transformation, we need to acknowledge the differences between them, because even though the words are used interchangeably, they may seem similar. There's actually a big distinction between the two. Now, if you imagine that I am holding a triangle shape, like I have drawn a large triangle on a piece of paper, and I'm holding it in front of me. Can you visualize that? Just a single sheet of paper with a giant triangle drawn on it. If I turn the paper in different directions, that triangle is going to look different each time. It might be pointing up, then it might point sideways, then point down. But no matter how I turn it, it is still a triangle. And this is what change often looks like. It might seem different on the outside, but nothing has actually changed at its core. And this kind of change is common when, whether it's a new habit or if it's a shift in behavior or maybe a fresh routine, we adjust, we can modify, we can try new things. And those are all positive steps. But if we're still fundamentally the same, we're still a triangle, we're just rotating that triangle around. Real transformation is a different ballgame altogether. Transformation is about changing the shape entirely, not just shifting the triangle around. So if you imagine this triangle undergoes a transformation and becomes a square, the shape itself has completely changed. It is no longer working within the limitations of the triangle. It has stepped into a new form. It has new sides, new angles, and a whole new world of possibilities. And that is what happens when we have true transformation. It's not about looking different on the surface. It's about becoming different. And the difference between staying within your old self and just trying new things and actually creating a new version of yourself. So here's where mindset comes in this analogy. To rotate a triangle, all I need to do is adjust my hand. But to turn a triangle into a square, that requires a complete shift. And just like with our own transformation, we have to shift in our mindset and our identity. It's no longer about just adjusting habits or making some minor tweaks. It's about getting to the core of who we are and examining our beliefs and evolving in a way that allows us to step into a new form or a new identity. And this is why mindset is really everything when it comes to transformation, because to make this leap, we have to stop thinking like a triangle. We have to stop being bound by our own limitations from the shape we currently have, that triangle shape. And we have to start imagining what is possible beyond that. And this is uncomfortable. Just like breaking out of the mindset we've always known, that's uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable, but that's the only way that true transformation really happens. And without a mindset shift, we are only rotating the triangle. We are making surface level changes that might look different, but they don't really alter who we are. And that's where we see this yo-yo, this on, off, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, kind of like this roller coaster that we're on, where we're making progress, but then we're slipping back into our old ways, making progress, slipping back into our old ways. So the next time you find yourself, say, rotating that triangle, trying something new, but feeling it's not really leading to change, that's an opportunity to pause and ask yourself, like, what would transformation look like here? If we visualize that square or that new version of yourself and identify one belief or behavior that's holding you back from it, this kind of intentional reflection, that's what's going to help us make shifts at that core level. So a little bit about my approach. In the past, I would stress over maybe losing weight for an event or some other short-term goal. And this led to cycles of extreme restriction followed by binging. And it never really brought lasting results. I was constantly swinging back and forth, and it just felt like this never-ending struggle. I'm sure some of you can relate, because I know a lot of my clients go through this as well. And it's the same kind of pattern and frustration that they share with me as well. But this time it was different for me. And instead of seeing the changes I was making as like a temporary sacrifice or just a short-term approach to just get to a goal and then lying to myself thinking, oh yeah, and then I'll just maintain from there, which never has worked. That has not worked in like 2 decades of life of going through these patterns. Instead, this time I had to really approach things from the mindset of, this is who I am now. That frame of mind is what changed everything, because I wasn't doing something just to get a quick result. Instead, I was building a new identity, one that prioritized my own health, that prioritized nourishment and prioritized balance. And I wasn't putting stress on myself to hurry up and meet a deadline or a goal. I focused on just being consistent and making the changes. And this is going to be a 2-part episode. On this next episode, I'll talk more about consistency. This first half is just going to be about mindset. And this approach is now what I really recommend for everyone. And now that I've gone through it myself, it's a lot easier for me to coach other people to do it. Other people to do it. Because when you shift from, I have to do this to get to X goal, to this is who I am now, it becomes more of a permanent transformation. You're not just dieting you're nourishing. You're not punishing yourself with exercise. You're moving your body to feel good and to have energy and to release stress. It's not a punishment for something you ate. Now, if you take a moment, if you're not driving, just take a moment to pause and just write down your own "this is who I am" statement. Maybe it's, I am someone who respects my body. I am committed to balanced living. Whatever your I am statement is, this is an identity statement that can become an anchor for you that will help you make choices that align with that person you want to be, that new version or that new shape that you want to achieve, and not just a temporary fix or a change of a shifting of the triangle. Balance is something that a lot of us long for. I think balance was something that I was chasing, but it just felt like something that wasn't achievable because I was going at it from that mindset of temporary. And of course, balance is desirable because it gives us a sense of freedom and flexibility, and it's going to allow us to enjoy life without guilt or restriction. It really is a beautiful goal, and we all deserve to enjoy those moments of treating ourselves and feeling free and not having feelings of guilt or shame afterwards. But there's a catch when it comes to balance, because real balance requires a solid foundation, a foundation of healthy habits and thinking patterns that help define the boundaries of what that balance is. Because if you're already feeling out of balance, or if your habits are all over the place, achieving true balance is going to be pretty much impossible, because you can't find balance in something that was never steady in the first place. And as I've learned, self-control is a fruit of the spirit, and boundaries really are a true gift. And they are the things that guide us towards living fully while also honoring our well-being. So in my own journey, like, balance hasn't come easy, because for years, if I was on plan, then I was fully on. But if I let myself go off, or if I tried to create balance by loosening the reins a little bit, it led to these cycles of restriction, binging. It's like that balance part was never a balance. The balance was always an overindulgence, not necessarily a binge, but it wasn't just like a little bit of one thing. It always ended up going to the extreme. And I think it was because I was approaching it from this mindset of temporary instead of lifestyle. And maybe some of you can relate to this. And this time I just knew that I had to focus on balance and committing to building it as a priority, and not just as something that I would fit in on occasion in between periods of restriction. It meant that at first I did have to be strict with myself, but not in a punishing way. It came from a way or a place that helped me develop new habits and healthier thinking. And as I stayed true to that, as I honored that and stayed within those boundaries, it got a lot easier. And now it's not just that I feel in control of my choices. I feel more grounded in my thoughts, and I feel more free from that constant tug of war and that noise in your head. And if you've been in a weight loss struggle, in that dieting cyclone, you know that constant chatter in your head. And it's always just constant noise where you're just battling your thoughts. You're constantly negotiating with yourself. And the amount of mental gymnastics that it takes to constantly be bargaining with yourself when it comes to food and movement. It's absolute insanity. And in the beginning, I had to have rules for myself because I needed to establish discipline to start keeping the promises that I made to myself. And I needed to rebuild trust and gain back my personal integrity with myself. I needed to show up for myself the way that I show up for other people. And now the balance feels more sustainable. It's not forced. And it's really just made a world of difference. And maybe you're seeking that kind of balance too, that real feeling of freedom and flexibility that's grounded in your habits and your boundaries and in the things that genuinely support you. And I feel like I've reached that place of flexibility and balance where I can enjoy a meal without that constant mental chatter. And it's so freeing. It's so freeing, you guys. And I want to emphasize here that all of it is possible when you get your mind right first. And one of the things that helped me the most in shaping my mindset was just becoming more present. I know that always sounds very simple every time I talk about mindfulness and being present, because it is simple, really. Doesn't mean it's easy, it is simple, but it's so powerful because being mindful and truly present in each moment, it makes you a better thinker and it helps you ask yourself the right questions, because specificity when it comes to our goals, that's a superpower. And we have to be able to define our goals in specific and tangible terms. You've probably heard this. If you're in the business world, you've heard of SMART goals: specific, measurable. I don't remember what the A stands for. I don't remember what they all stand for, but they have to be something that we could be very clear on. Like my first goal was not, I want to lose weight. It was like, that was like ultimately what I wanted to do, but that was not what I went into the goal. I went in with something very specific. My goal was, I am going to get into ketosis and I am going to track and test to make sure that I am getting there so I can measure it. I just didn't want to assume. And I can say that I see this trap be a hang up for a lot of women who are eating keto or people that are following a keto diet, but never getting into ketosis. And so then they're like, oh, keto didn't work for me. It's like, but did you actually test to see? Because just eating keto is not always enough for people. And it sometimes takes a lot of adjusting and tweaking and testing to make sure that you get there, especially in this world that we're in now where we are so metabolically damaged. It's a lot harder to switch from sugar burner to fat burner. And so that was my first goal, was I am going to get into ketosis, not I am going to lose weight. It was, I need to train my body how to become a fat burner. And that is what helped start this process for me. And we need to go beyond those vague goals like, oh, I just want to eat better, or I just want to be more consistent, because that is what's going to bring us clarity and focus. And that's where we know where we're going to get those action steps to start. And most people know what they want. They're really good at identifying. Most people, they don't know what they want. They know what they don't want. People are really good at identifying what they don't want. Getting clarity around exactly what you want requires deeper thought. And most people just move through life with a fairly clear sense of what they don't want. They don't want to be unhealthy. They don't want financial stress. They don't want to feel unfulfilled. But identifying what you don't want is only part of the equation. Like, I knew I didn't want to be overweight anymore. I knew I didn't want to be uncomfortable in my body and just miserable going through life. I knew I didn't want that anymore. But I had to get clear about what I did want. Real clarity, like that's where we achieve the power to make change, because it comes from pinpointing exactly what you do want. And it requires introspection. It requires thought to get there. Why people are clear on what they don't want is because it is natural to notice what causes discomfort or dissatisfaction in our lives. Our brains are wired to focus on potential threats or pain points. So avoiding these things is often front and center in our mind. So it's a lot easier to point out what they are. And it's usually easy to articulate. I don't want to feel tired all the time, or I don't want to worry about money, or I don't want to be stuck in a job that I hate. However, while knowing what you want to avoid is helpful, it definitely is, it doesn't provide a proactive direction. It's like deciding which ingredients you don't want in a recipe. Like, I know I don't want to cook something with tomatoes in it, but that's not really helping me know what dish I want to create. I may want to avoid certain things, but without clarity of what I do want, I'm not crafting any intentional recipe. I'm just leaving things out. So we have to figure out how to move from I don't want statements to I want statements, and how envisioning a future self shapes that vision. So example, like instead of saying, I don't want to be tired, we can try saying, I want to wake up feeling energized and ready for my day. See the shift there? So we can do a little bit of a challenge here. If defining what you want takes time, mental space, and honesty with yourself, we need to have put in the time to figure out what that is. It requires thinking about what brings you joy, satisfaction, meaning, as well as what aligns with what your values and your personal strengths are. You might find that the specifics of what you want are less obvious because they require visioning of future self, a future you that doesn't quite exist yet. So we also have to use some imagination there. Some examples to help you think about specificity when it comes to health and nutrition. We can say, instead of I don't want to be unhealthy, the positive flip side vision of that might be I want to feel strong. I want to feel energized. I want to be capable of keeping the commitments that I make to myself. I want to fuel my body with foods that make me feel good instead of foods that make me feel bloated and lethargic. So if we can think of what we do want and break that down into more specific statements, I want to eat 3 balanced meals a day. It's like, okay, so I want to feel strong and energized. Okay, what can I do to get there? I want to eat 3 balanced meals a day. I want to prioritize whole foods. I want to avoid processed snacks. It gives us more clear action and a concrete target to aim for. It makes it more clear to set goals and take steps towards reaching those goals, because the specific goals become the foundation for our mindset practice. So they help us ask ourselves questions that are going to shift our thoughts and our patterns toward the goal and the results that we want. Because when we get specific about what you do want, you're aligning yourself with that more empowering version of that future you. It kind of becomes our North Star, our guiding light. And it helps us stay focused on the steps that we need to take to move from where we are to where we want to be. I think this is a good time to mention, if you've been craving clarity, whether in your mindset, your cravings, or your consistency, I have something for you. My Freedom Fast is kicking off this coming Monday, November 4th. If you're listening to this before November 4th, it's not too late to join. It's 21 days of clearing out the distractions, getting recentered, and yes, there is breakthrough over breaking free from sugar's grip and the way it can hijack our mind and our thinking. So if you feel like this is the opportunity you've been waiting for, check out the show notes or head to my website, hollyjeanhealth.com, to sign up, and we can do this together. I am participating in it as well. So let's wrap up this episode, this part 1, by bringing it together. Having a clear vision isn't just helpful, it is the first essential step. If you think of it as the foundation of your transformation, you understand why mindset is the first step in any goal that you have, not just related to health. Because without that clarity, it's so easy to get pulled off track or settle for the surface level changes, those quick fixes that we know don't work because we've fallen for them before and we're still here, right? We're not where we want to be yet. So when you know exactly what you want to be, you're setting that intention that's going to shape your decisions and your habits and ultimately your results. They're going to be the things that lead you to transformation. So I have some homework for you. Trust me, this one is worth it. It's going to take a few minutes to write down your "this is who I am now" statement. Make it personal and true to the person that you want to become. Maybe it's, I am someone who respects my body, or I am committed to more balanced living, and go deeper with that. What exactly does that mean to you? Once you have that, refine it into that specific positive goal that you're striving for. Turn it into something you can measure, something that you can aim towards. And whether that's feeling energized every morning, or fueling your body with the right foods, or moving in a way that feels good and brings you joy. That's another thing. When I first started getting back into the exercise routine, it wasn't just I'm going to work out 3 times a week. I was going to just move my body in a way that feels good every day. And sometimes it was just stretching. Sometimes it was a walk. Sometimes it was doing more intense workout, but it was just committing to the action of doing something. Here's an exciting part. Well, it's exciting to me, but on this next episode, I am going to dive into the how to build consistency around those goals, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. You're like, woohoo, motivation, where are you? So tune into this next one and bring your "this is who I am now" statement, and we will just keep this transformation going. I will close us out in prayer now. But just one more thing, if you haven't joined the Freedom Fast, just know that it's not too late. So again, go to my website, check the show notes, and just know that this is going to be an honest assessment during this fast that is really going to help bring these points together for you, especially if you are feeling a little bit lost in clarity or purpose right now. There's also a part in there. I have a pre-work journal that I have made that goes through a lot of this stuff, where it's really just assessing your levels in all areas of life right now, not just health. And it's giving you a clear picture of maybe where you can find some more balance, or the framework for where you can start making some goals and getting clear on what you want those goals to be in life. Okay, so let's close in prayer really quickly. Lord, I just thank you for this time together and for the clarity and purpose you bring to our lives. And we ask that your guidance is with us as we just seek to transform our hearts and minds in alignment with your will. I pray that you help us to walk with intention and to honor our bodies and our commitments, and to step boldly into the person that you've called us to be. And I pray that you grant us strength to stay consistent even when it's hard, and the wisdom to seek you first in all things. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. Keep nurturing that mindset, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Real Health Transformations. I hope this episode met you where you are and helped you cut through the noise, maybe get a little closer to the real practical solutions you've been looking for. Remember, everything shared here is for education and for inspiration, not medical advice. I am not your doctor. I am a podcast host. I am your encouraging digital friend. Always do what is right for you and consult a trusted healthcare provider before making any big changes. If you loved what you heard today, please subscribe, share with a friend, and let's keep having the conversations that matter without the fluff. Find me on Instagram. Let's keep this conversation going and keep questioning things. Keep finding what works for you. You've got this. I'll see you next time.